Hello my friends. So just wanted to make another short video for today. I wanted to introduce a topic that I'd like to have a longer live stream about as soon as I get the chance, hopefully relatively soon. And that is on the questions that I have about COVID in general and the response to COVID that we have seen. And really, I have three levels of critique and three different types of questions that I have about COVID and the response. And those three different levels are, the first is existential questions. Is COVID really what we're told it is? I think there are plenty of good reasons to doubt that what we're told about the nature of COVID is anywhere from being misrepresented to possibly completely fabricated. And so it's possible that COVID either isn't exactly what we're told, or that COVID doesn't even exist. I'd like to explore those possibilities and look at the evidence. But even if we assume that COVID exists, there's another level of questioning that we can follow, another line of questioning that we could follow, which is, do the techniques, the so-called mitigation measures of masking laws, mandatory quarantines for healthy populations, the soon-to-be vaccine regulations and laws that are going to come with that, the whole concept of social distancing, which is just a euphemism for confinement. Do all of these so-called mitigation measures actually work? Is it the case that, even if we assume COVID actually exists and it's as bad as they say, are these mitigation measures effective? And so we could ask if they're effective or if they're even counterproductive. And I want to look at the evidence for that. So that's the second line or level of questioning. I call that the technical question, or the technical set of questions. But even if we assume the first line of questioning, saying, let's assume that COVID does exist, and it's as bad as they say it is. And let's assume that these so-called mitigation measures, the mandatory quarantines of healthy populations, the business lockdowns, the social distancing, the masking laws, the vaccines, all of that are effective. They save lives, whatever. Let's assume that that is the case. The third level of questioning, which I think is really the most fundamental, the most essential type of question to bring up to people who are caught up in the whole COVID phenomena, who are true believers, is the ethical and political line of questioning. Even if COVID is as bad as they say it is, which even according to them isn't that bad, even if it's like 10 times worse than the flu, in the grand scheme of things, not that many people are dying. And even if the technical mitigation measures, the masks, the quarantining, even if that works, are we willing to accept this new paradigm of government? Is this a good thing that we're essentially like this is along the lines of Giorgio Agamben's critique of the COVID lockdowns and the mitigation measures and all that. Is this a new paradigm of government that we're willing to accept, where expert authority agencies and the executive class, the governors, the CDC, etc., can unilaterally impose these unprecedented and extremely really draconian and despotic new laws on an entire population, forcing people to stop going to work, forcing people to wear masks in public, soon to be forcing people to get vaccinated if they want to have access to basic goods and services in society. It'll probably get to the point where if you want to go into a grocery store, you'll have to have a vaccine card, things like that. The whole biosecuritization process that Agamben talks about, where we have this unilateral imposition placed upon us without any reference to the normal sort of legislative process, where it's just a total state of exception. The government has the authority to take away any rights that you have in the name of health, in the name of health security, in the name of saving lives. And you have no ability to question it. You have no ability to be critical of it. You have no room to even doubt the whole process. You have to just obey. Is this new paradigm of government something that we want to live under? Because, there will always be some kind of threat to our health. This is a permanent, this becomes a permanent justification for any kind of stripping of our liberties, any amount of surveillance, tracking of our whereabouts, any kind of invasion of our privacy or even our biological limits with the imposition of vaccines. Even if like I'm saying, even if we're willing to accept that these sorts of things might save a few lives, is this worth it? Is this is it worth living in a society? This is another thing Agamben brings up. Is it worth living in a society where we can't even have funerals for the dead? Is that reducing us to a state where we are hardly even human anymore? Is life worth living if we can't have these sort of sacred rituals? My wife and I, for example, couldn't even have our wedding because of COVID. And when we just had our child, we were forced to limit the amount of people present at that, very magical, very spiritual, important moment of our lives. It was just us two. We couldn't have my parents there. We couldn't have her parents there because of COVID, because of this bullshit reduction of our limits, of our rights, I should say, in the name of health security. Is this the type of world we want to live in? Because like I said, it's never going away. This is something like a new 9/11, where after 9/11, the impositions of freedom, the impositions of liberty, the restrictions of our rights were permanent. This war on terror and all of the securitization, all of the whole Patriot Act type of government activity, this sort of thing, never went away, and it never will go away. And it's the same with COVID. We're always going to have, there will always have now a good reason to do this kind of thing. So, do we want to live in this world? Is it ethically, is it politically acceptable? Those are the three levels that I want to explore in a longer live stream and get into more detail about. And hopefully I'll be doing that soon. But this is just, kind of a preview and sort of getting the ideas out, sharing my thoughts as they come to me. So, thank you for watching.